Welcome back to another Mackem in the Middle, where we once again are celebrating, just barely celebrating, another late goal, another late win, 3 points in the bag for Sunderland over Shrewsbury Town. And with me to break it all down is Michael Bowers, of course. Michael, thanks for joining. And we have Sunderland's new number 12, Daniel Stokel. So, Daniel, thanks for joining. I kind of wanted to start there because you did have a pretty unique experience last week. And yeah, go ahead and break it down for us. Let us know kind of what that was all about.
Sunderland have done probably their best bit of transfer business in the last couple of months, signing me as their new number 12. I'm 6'1" centre back. But no, it was a Papa John's competition, sign for your club thing. So I am officially number 12. On Tuesday, I was at the Academy of Light. Watched the first team training session, had a press conference with Alex Neil about a new me signing for the club, signed the contract and everything. Then had lunch with Luke O'Nine and Bailey Wright and played the ocular control test with Luke O'Nine as well. And then got unveiled yesterday at the match before the game.
And so how did you enter to win this? It was just through Papa John's and you just...
Yeah, it was just a Twitter post, I think, from Sunderland, which I just decided to enter just because why not? Didn't really think anything of it, and then I got an email like in February saying that I'd won. And I was a bit like, whoa. Like I was like, I was like
right.
confused because I was like, I entered this like months ago. I didn't think anything of it, and then I replied to it, and then next thing I know, I'm having lunch with Luke O'Nine and Bailey Wright.
That's really what. So, what were some of the things that you didn't expect, that you were surprised about? You know, when touring was that your first time really on the grounds, being able to, tour the facilities and things like that?
Yeah, that first ever time at the Academy of Light. And just to see like the day-to-day operations of what goes on at the club, on the football side of things, watching the training, watching how focused all the players are, because I didn't know like what the training sessions were like. I didn't know how much of a role Alex Neil had in taking training, if he just left it up to the coaches. All the analysis that goes on, it's mental. Like so much goes on behind the scenes that we don't see, and like right now, I feel like we're reaping the benefits of it all.
Right. And that was one thing that you mentioned, was just how all the players were very focused. And then you just said, too, how they were all really personable. And so you were able to have this conversation. Yeah. What were your conversations like with Bailey Wright and Luke O'Nine? Was it just football related? Or did you guys get off topic at all?
In fact, we didn't really talk about football much. More of it was just Bailey Wright being good at selling houses in his estate.
Really?
So it was Bailey Wright had taken a lot of the Sunderland players to his estate in Durham and sold all the houses in his estate. And apparently Luke O'Nine's the king of getting free stuff as well. So it was honestly just general chat, just like it was just a mate. And it was so cool that it wasn't like all forced. None of it was forced at all. They were so sound. They were like the soundest people I've met. Really into everything. Like when I was getting lunch with them, like it was like I was part of the player team. It was really funny as well because the under nines in the academy just started, the fresh set of under nines, and it was their first day. So Lyndon Gooch and Thorben Hoffman surprised them in their training session, and
that's awesome.
those two played against the under nines, and I met those two there. And then at lunch, all the under nines came around every player, like signing their autographs, etc. And because I was dressed in the full tracksuit that the club had given me, they thought I was a player, so I had to. So I didn't have the heart to tell them that I wasn't actually
right.
a player. So I just signed my signature and put my number next to it.
That's so fun. I can't wait. Yeah, 10 years from now, someone's gonna post online like, "Can someone tell me whose autograph this is?" But good.
But
I mean, good on the club. That's really cool, dude. What an
honestly,
experience.
the club have been absolutely class, and it's all getting filmed as well. So it'll be
Cool.
out on the EFL, the Papillon, and the Sunderland social media, like a big video. Um, and I don't know how often anyone from Sunderland watches this or listens to this podcast, but Michael Lader at Sunderland, head of marketing, he's absolutely class. He
See,
was he was through the whole thing, and he's one of the best people I've met. Honestly, he was
yeah.
so good. And like at the match on yesterday, I had all my family there, so I had my
Oh,
dad,
that's
my
great.
granddad, my uncles and auntie, etc. And Michael went to each stand and got them and brought them to pitch side, in front of the dugouts, just to take photos
That's
and watch
incredible.
the video. It was class.
That's awesome. Yeah, like that really like what a cool experience. And yeah, I think it goes to show just what you mentioned, what the players were like, and just like the structure around the club. I'm assuming this would never have happened under, even just a few years ago, right? Like this sort of, the hospitality and the players being so welcoming, and probably just goes a lot to say like what the culture is like under, Alex Neil and just the
Yeah,
club's
definitely,
togetherness.
because it was class because like they were saying how the worst time of being at the club was in the championship era because players didn't want to be at the club, etc. Which you could tell on the pitch.
Right.
But now, apparently under Alex Neil, everything's changed completely, and everyone's like just so focused on the end goal. It's absolutely class, and like the amount of work that Alex Neil and his coaching staff were putting in, like just on the regular, which is what they do every day. When it comes to individual player performance analysis, trying to guide and mold players to be better, and it was really cool to see. Like the first team analysts, well, the team of analysts that analyze the first team performances is huge as well. Like they put so much time and effort into it, and you can really see that on the pitch that we're just getting better.
Yeah, and that's so interesting because I think most of those contests you'd think is probably won by some little kid or someone's dad or something, right? So somebody would just go there and just be like, I don't know what's going on, but this is cool. But like you definitely have like a more analytical mind when it comes to football and the game and stuff, and so you were probably the perfect candidate to win something like this. To
Oh,
really enjoy it and mend with the boys a little bit and just kind of like just be one of the team.
yeah. Literally, it was class because it was like I honestly felt like I was part of the team on that day, just with
That's
how
awesome.
everyone was. Even playing football with Luke, like he showed
That's
me
cool.
how to do this control thing, and then I did it. And like it genuinely just felt like I was just another day in the life, like walking past all the under 23, under 18 players, whilst they were having games, etc. It was mental.
Never forget it. That's gonna be awesome. Well, I can't wait for the video. Yeah, we'll be sure to post out the video. That's
No,
really cool. But
that was epic.
yeah, no, that's epic for sure. And yeah, so I appreciate you. I'm glad you were able to come on and talk about it because I think that's really cool. But I guess we have another game to talk about. And Daniel, I'm sure you inspired these boys. Is really what I want to think, right? You you obviously pushed them over the edge to get them that last goal. But what a game it was. And Michael, you were there. Obviously, the first 20 minutes are pretty well documented. First 20, 30 minutes where I would say we probably looked our best under Alex Neil, especially attacking. We a few changes. We had Corey Evans who was off. Embleton got a start, which I think is much deserved. And it opened up kind of right away. We were attacking, got a nice free kick that we took just kind of right off the wall, and then Embleton just kind of guided it right to the back of the net with a nice little half volley. And Michael, what were kind of your opinions of that on the start, and then obviously Embleton's goal?
Well, obviously, we'll get on to the whole game later. But to quote Alex Neil, that result exploited the best and the worst of Sunderland. And to start to make it relevant to your question, the start of the game, the opening 20 minutes was probably the best football I've seen Sunderland play for a good number of games this season. The passing was slick. The intent with every pass, with every flurry forward, with every attack, there was actual intent and purpose behind it. And that was what was really encouraging. And as you said, I was joking with some of my friends before the game that before yesterday, the last time Sunderland had scored a goal in the first half at the Stadium of Light was Portsmouth. And I think that was something like the 22nd of January or something along those lines. So obviously, when Nathan Broadhead hit the wall on the free kick, comes back out to Embleton, and I don't think anyone expected. Well, maybe other people did, and they're lying about it. I don't know, but I certainly didn't expect Embleton's shot to hit the back of the net. And obviously it was pandemonium at the start of the game. Very, very good start. And as I said earlier, with the intent we showed in the opening 20 minutes, that's the sort of thing I want to be seeing us do. I mean, away from home, I think away at Plymouth, for example, will be a different test. But at home against, say, Cambridge, for example, that's how I want us to play. And that's how I think with the quality that we've got, we should be playing. But to be fair to Embleton, I've criticised him that I think he tends to go missing for me in games when he starts. But you can't announce your presence better than a goal like that in the first 15 minutes or so.
And it was great to see him celebrate, and you could kind of see what it means to do it, in front of the home fans this time and really kind of embrace that. But yeah, like you said, I think that was a good exclamation point for just how we played in those first opening minutes. And we didn't really let up after that, which I'd love to see. So Daniel, we kind of moved to that next phase of game where we continued to dominate, in my opinion. I mean, Shrewsbury couldn't get a touch on the ball really at all. And then we had some nice build-up play. I believe it was. Who was it that took somebody took a shot from a little bit outside?
Sirkin took the shot.
Was it okay?
Yeah.
Yep. Sirkin took the shot from outside. The keeper kind of made a little bit of a mess of it. It was a good shot, mind. It was on target, which we like to see, and that's kind of what we've been asking for. Is let's test these. These are League One keepers. Let's test them a little bit. And so it was nice to see Sirkin with a decent shot. Had to be parried out, and then Nathan Broadhead with just what a good strike. I mean, the thing didn't get more than an inch off the ground and just right in the back of the net as well. And then he wheeled away to celebrate. So, Daniel, what was your opinions of the second goal? And just before
you go on to Daniel, I really rate that finish. That is so difficult to do. First time, and drilled it like it was lethal the way he did it. Sorry, Daniel, I'll shut up and let you talk.
I agree, though.
Okay. No, like Michael said, that is an unbelievable finish. That's a Premier League standard finish, and that's just the type of player Nathan Broadhead is. All he needs is one chance, and he takes it bloody well as well. Because it looks like it's quite an easy chance. It just falls straight to his feet, but it's not. It's on the half volley, so it bounces up slightly, and a lot of players will lean back and hit it, and it'll go about 30 yards into rosette. But he got his body through it, put his foot through it, and smashes it straight into that bottom left corner. And from there, I was thinking, we're going to go on to absolutely batter these. We were playing so well. 2 goals in the first 15 minutes. I thought we were going to go on to 3, 4, 5 potentially, which would have helped the goal difference a lot. And it just was capping off what was such a good start, because I've thought that this season, in particular, we've been a very second half team. So to finally go in front comfortably in the first half, we were actually going to start getting on top of teams and ending this season really, really strong, going into potential playoffs. Right. And then, the injuries happened.
Right.
And I don't know what happened.
Yeah, and we'll get to that, because it's like you said, we went up 2-0, which was awesome at home. And I think we started looking at the other scores, right? And I know Wickham and Plymouth were playing. And I think Wickham at that point maybe they were only up 1-0, but I know they were winning. And so we were kind of calculating goal differences and things like that, and just thinking, okay, well, if we score 2 more or whatever, 4-0, goal differential, all that fun stuff, we'll be in good shape. But I want to see if you guys agree with me, because I think, at least from the way I was envisioning it, there was one moment in the first half that totally changed the entire tide of the game. And it was when we had the ball, we were attacking, we were passing just right in between them. They couldn't get a touch on the ball. And I believe it was their right back just goes down, right? Just goes down and starts laying down. And we were like, okay, well, should we just keep playing with it? Because we don't have to kick it out for them at that point. We had the ball, we're at home, we're up 2-0. We don't have to kick it out. And we finally kind of just kicked it out. And I swear, literally since that minute, or since that injury happened, it was all Shrewsbury for the next 30 minutes going into the second half. So, Michael, I'll start with you. Do you think did you kind of notice that as well, or am I just kind of grasping at straws here?
No, you didn't. You weren't clutching at straws. I did notice that as well. As soon as but it's basically their right back, the same that every player does. in this league that they act like prima donnas, like they've been hit that they've been shot in the face or something, and they roll around like babies trying to get the sympathy of the referee or get the basically, you know. And I'm going to say this: all that guy was doing was trying to stop the momentum, because at that point Sunderland were completely on top and Shrewsbury couldn't get anywhere near them. To be fair, I suppose he could argue that it almost worked because they nearly got a draw out of the game, didn't they? But for me, the biggest reason for the drop off was pure and simply that I think we just subconsciously thought, oh, that's it, game's done. We don't have to do any more. And for me, in some ways, I'll quote Alex Neil here, that in some ways could be a good lesson for us not to do that in future games. We've got away with it, but we won't in the future if that happens. But as for the guy rolling around on the floor, yeah, I think you could argue that probably did. Again, it slowed momentum down, so that you could argue that did change the game. I'm sure I heard Daniel groan when you mentioned it, though, so I'm pretty sure he's got something to say on it.
Yeah, Daniel, what was your thoughts on that? And just kind of the end of the first half as well, because like I said, at the end there, they did get a goal, but it was disallowed. But yeah, what were your thoughts at the end of the first half?
Honestly, when Carl Winchester decided to stop the ball and kick it out of the play, I was really pissed off, because it was like we'd forgotten what football was. We'd forgotten what you're supposed to do. Granted that player did come off injured. He didn't just go down for nothing. He was genuinely injured. But we were playing with momentum. We were playing some really good football. So why not capitalize it on when you're playing against 10 men? One of them's on the floor. Like, you heard it in the stadium. We're on top. We're breaking them down like it's nothing. Like in the lead up to that first goal, Shrewsbury had 0% possession, and we could have continued that, but we stopped the ball dead, and that was like a metaphor for the last 20 minutes of the game.
Right.
As soon as Carl Winchester put his foot on the ball, stopped it dead, and kicked it out, that is how we ended the second half, flat, because the amount of passes that we did after that ball went out from Carl Winchester, that also went out for a throw-in, was insane. We had players on the right-hand side, players on the left-hand side doing cross diagonals, trying to hit our left back or right back, but ended up going out for a throw-in or a corner. And I was like, what is going on? Shrewsbury, because of that, Shrewsbury got that like taste of blood, like a shark in the water. And they knew they could get a goal from us because we were weakened. And they almost did. If it wasn't for that offside, that would have been them right back in the game before half time, which would have been destroying to us. But they had that sense of blood. And same coming out in the second half, we didn't improve at all.
Right.
We didn't even improve by 5% or 3%. We stayed flat as anything. And like we found it. Granted, the first goal that Shrewsbury scored should not have counted, because I don't know what was going on with Bailey Wright, but I felt like we were back in WrestleMania at the start of the April.
Thank you. Yes.
But it was going to happen, and I think we all knew in the stadium and everyone that was watching it was going to happen, regardless. So I honestly don't understand what happened with everyone. Everyone switched off, and they stayed switched off. It was like someone had just done a factory reset, gone back to Windows 7, and we're just trying to install on software that can't handle it.
It really was bizarre, and I think you kind of put it into like perfect perspective, especially for that first goal. So I was telling Michael right before we hopped on, I was accounting for Shrewsbury to score at least one goal, because it had to be Tom Flanagan, right? Like, I just knew at some point during this game Tom Flanagan was going to score, because that's just how it is. So I was like, okay, 2 goals. I know Tom Flanagan, he's going to have to get one. So 2-1, I'm okay with that. The thing, like you mentioned, that I did not account for was their attacker. So him during the lead up of that, Bailey Wright kind of boxed him out legally, totally fine, just kind of got a body on him. He didn't like that, and you could see he intentionally tripped Bailey Wright, and then as Bailey Wright fell, he just dove on top of his back, right on top of the ref. And then if you look at the highlight, right where Wright would have, if he could have gotten up, if he would have been allowed to get up instead of having another human on his back, he would have been right where that ball was placed. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I know that's making the rounds on Twitter as well.
That's what I was saying to my dad. I was like, if that player had not been on top of his back, that space was where Bailey Wright would be stood. Where where that player wouldn't have been able to first time it into the bottom right corner. He would have been stood there, and the referee was five steps to the left of him, and it was like nothing happened. Like the linesman on our side was looking straight at them.
It was
And
unbelievable.
honestly, I think that's one of the worst complete refereeing performances official performances I'd ever seen. I couldn't believe it. The amount of times as well, the ball came off a Sunderland player and it was a Shrewsbury throw-in, or came off a
Yes.
it was Shrewsbury player and it's Sunderland throw-in, or there was times where the ball went out for a Shrewsbury corner and they gave a Shrewsbury throw-in. It was honestly mental. I don't understand the point of a fourth official either.
Right.
He was doing nothing as well. So but it just epitomized like the way that we were playing. It epitomized what was going on in those mad 20 minutes before halftime and 20 minutes after halftime. Like it was one of the weirdest things I'd ever seen.
Right. And it was Vela who scored it, right, Michael? And you kind of took a little bit of notes on his celebration. What did you feel about Vela's celebration after what really should have been a disallowed goal?
Well, obviously, yeah. For anyone who wants context, basically Josh Vela Vela, however, whatever his name is, I don't really care. When he scores the first time finish, obviously, yeah, arguably the goal shouldn't have stood anyway. Instead of picking the ball up and getting back to the touchline, or instead of trying to celebrate with his teammates, he decides to run round to I think he's at the southeast corner, puts his arms up in the air, cups his ears. Bearing in mind he scored a consolation goal at that point, and then he runs round to the halfway line and then just shouts and starts antagonising Sunderland fans. Josh Vela, do one, you absolute bellend. That stuff in football I cannot stand. I know some people don't mind it, but I always am of the opinion, celebrate with your teammates, be humble, and just get on with it. Why do you have to have the need to antagonise people? So, I know, spoiler for anyone who's listening to the podcast and somehow doesn't know the outcome of the game, Josh Vela, karma. There you go.
I love it. And that it did, like you said, it galvanized Shrewsbury for sure, because they came right back. They started attacking again. And I believe it was off a corner set piece. Ball kind of just floated right into the box. There's some nice deflections. The ball was just bouncing around. But like I said, it just had to go to Tom Flanagan. Who
else was it going to be, Kyle?
Right.
Who else was it
And
going to be?
it is it was a pretty good finish, I'm not going to lie. But it was just bad mark. Luke 09, I believe it was Luke, completely lost the man. And he probably just looked at him. He was like, "Oh, Tom Flanagan, he's on my team still. I don't need no worry to bother guarding him, apparently." And yeah, it had to be Tom Flanagan. And credit to Tom Flanagan, he did the I'm not going to celebrate kind of motion type thing. But it was 2-2 at that point, and Michael, I think both you guys were there. Michael, go ahead. What was the atmosphere like after that second goal went in?
Well, an immense amount of frustration. I was. I can only speak for myself. I was furious when that second goal went in, because you were 2-0 up against a team that's got nothing to play for, a mid-table side. A side we should have beaten down there, remember, because it was only when they were down to 10 men, so we should have took 6 points off Shrewsbury, really. But up here, we were so comfortable, in control, and then for us to sit back, basically, our tempo drops, and then you can see 2 goals. I was furious, and even afterwards, before we scored the winner, you could tell that the frustration was there. That every misplaced pass, every shot that went over the bar, or any block that happened, the frustration was starting to build, and there was a bit of tension starting to go around. So, thankfully, there was a good bit of relief at the end. But to answer your question, yeah, it was. Oh, there would have been very much booze at the end had Nathan Broadhead not spared our blushes.
Yeah, right. And it just felt like another one of those games, didn't it? Where it's like, wow, it just felt like games have passed, because recently, in this season, we have found ways, to finish these games and not chuck away the leads like this necessarily. But it did just kind of feel like, all right, well, eventually someone was going to catch us, right? We can't just keep winning at the at the death, can we? But a couple subs came on. So no, Embleton went off. We had Corey Evans come on, which, Corey, okay, to kind of set the context, Corey Evans has been one of those players. I would say him and Gooch are the 2 players recently who really have been the target of a lot of fans' frustrations and things like that. And we've talked about subs coming on and providing the winning pass or providing the winning goal, like with Broadhead or Embleton. I think you could say the same thing on how the momentum and everything changed as soon as Corey Evans came on.
Yeah.
Daniel, did you notice that as well?
Yeah. I've got to be honest, as soon as I saw Corey Evan getting stripped off when we were 2-2 against Shrewsbury, I was fuming. I was saying to my dad, we've taken off all our attacking midfielders. We're essentially playing with three CDMs. Why is he coming on? And that's when I was thinking back to the last podcast I was on with you, Carl, where we were saying about how Corey Evans, he might not be the prettiest player, but he's experienced, which is exactly what he showed when he came on, because he allowed us to take control of the game back again. Because he was sitting deep with Bailey Wright, it meant that they couldn't get anything on the break. He was there just to shift it out, to deal with everything, and just to make those passes to keep things ticking over, which honestly is not something we've seen too much, or has gone under the radar, because we've been winning, and because he's been getting so many minutes. It's been easy for people to jump on his back. So he really showed why he's still got that space in the squad, because when we've not had him there, they got through us, and they got through us quite easy, which is something I don't think any Sunderland fan would have thought they'd ever say about Corey Evans. But fair play to him. He's not let this negativity get to him. He's not let it affected him even more. So when he came on, when he had a job to do, he did that job exactly how he needed. And it just shows that we've got such a young squad. We could have easily folded with those 2 goals, but I guess it was a wake up call for us and for the young squad that we were playing. That we need to stay switched on, and having Corey Evans there is sort of like that Grant Levitt type of player.
Yep.
He was able just to sort us out, pick us up, dust us off, and get us going again. But one thing I do want to say, which I was not happy about at all, when that substitution was made, the cheers for Lyndon Gooch going off, I was not happy about that at all. I thought that was outrageous. Yeah, he might not have had a great game, but under no circumstance should we ever cheer that a player goes off.
Right. So sarcastic cheers. I got you.
We're supposed to be one club fighting for one promotion, all in this as a unit, regardless of if someone has a 2 out of 10 performance or if someone has a 10 out of 10 performance. Whether we think they deserve to be in the squad or not, we should never, ever, ever boo a player coming on like we did with Corey Evans, or celebrate a player going off. Remember what happened with Granit Xhaka all those years ago with Arsenal, when he got booed going off. I just thought that was disgusting personally, and I just hope that doesn't happen again, because it's so stupid at this stage of the game that we're letting these stupid things come into us, which is this toxicity in the fan base that keeps re-emerging whenever something's going well. And I don't know if that's whether it's the entitled fans that think we should be battering them all day long, winning 6-0 against them, or I don't know what it is, but we need to stop that. That was outrageous.
It's pure anti-American bias. That's what. No, I'm kidding. But no, I agree, and I think what it is too. You have a stadium that's 32,000, right? I think that's roughly about how much was in there, and it was very nervy at that point, right? It was still 2-2, so a lot of the fans were quiet, and so even if you just had 400, 500, fans that were cheering him going off or booing him going off, however you want to look at it, it's going to be a lot louder because everyone else is quiet, So it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate that got picked up, and I think especially you, after meeting these players and seeing what they put in on a daily basis, the type of training and the dedication they put in. They're not out there just to collect a paycheck like we've seen before, right? We've seen the players who literally just could not be asked to do anything above and beyond. And you saw it firsthand, Daniel, that like the players are committed to this. They are so bought in.
Yeah.
And that is, imagine that as a player, to work your ass off all week and then not have the best day at the office and then get booed off the pitch.
100%. Because when I was watching that training session, Lyndon Gooch was one of the brightest players I'd seen in that training session. The amount of work he was putting in and the quality that he was showing in the training session as well. getting past the whole squad, basically scoring some really good goals, some really crucial passes, and the defending he was doing was quality as well. And then he's the player that also went over to the under nines. He didn't have to, but he was the one. He volunteered to go over to the under nines and teach them a bit about football. And I don't know if that the Lyndon Gooch bias in me because I love him. He's one of my favorite players. But just with any squad, whether with any players, sorry, whether that's Lyndon Gooch, whether that's Corey Evans, whether that's Ross Stewart, anyone, I don't agree with booing them coming off or coming on, etc. I just think that's something that we don't need at this stage of the game. But I got to say that atmosphere wasn't great in the stadium yesterday, though.
Right.
Even when we were winning 2-0, I don't know what it was, but I didn't think it was that great for the first time in a long time. And I don't know, honestly, I don't know what it was.
I think it's
Everything just felt so flat
right.
after
Yeah.
the 2 goals went in. Everything felt so flat, and everything just epitomized it. And I don't know what it was.
It's been a long season, I think, for one. I think probably people too, they start looking at the other scores and things like that. But
bear in
speaking,
mind as well that this is our 4th year at this level. So
Yeah.
I don't think people.
it's hard to get up for Shrewsbury. Yeah.
Well, I'll have on the Lyndon Gooch thing, and I'll have my say on this. And as I probably drive Kyle insane with, I am one of Lyndon Gooch's biggest critics. However, I agree with everything that you both said. I don't particularly rate. I don't rate Lyndon Gooch as highly as a player. I mean, I'm sure he's obviously got ability. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a professional footballer. But not one stage will I ever question his commitment to the cause, because he is one of the last people that I would accuse of not trying at this club. He is given however frustrating I find him, I can tell he gives absolutely everything when he puts that shirt on, when he puts that jersey. If you want to look at wingers in the past, look at someone like Jermaine Lenz, for instance, when we had many years ago. He was someone who had the quality but couldn't be bothered to turn up 9 times.
Yeah.
And that's this. I view Lyndon Gooch more in that regard than Jermaine Lenz, because again, Gooch gives absolutely 100%. So as much as whether we all think he should be starting or not, I think Daniel was absolutely spot on with what he said. If you're going there and you're actively booing your own player coming on, or you're jeering a player coming off, shut up, and you need to have a word with yourself and reevaluate what you're thinking about players, because it's a joke.
Exactly. Because one thing that people don't realize or don't pay thanks to is that Lyndon Gooch has been a servant at this club for 16 years. He came all the way from California, 4 Sunderland trials at the age of 10, and he's played for us ever since. And he's only got better and better. And he's one of the few players that understand what it means to play for Sunderland, what the club actually means to the fans. And you can see that. Yeah, he might not be the Neymar, he might not be the Messi of League One. He might overdo things. He might misplace passes or give away sloppy fouls. But he wears his heart on his sleeve. And honestly, I just thought it was outrageous that we're forgetting the people that come from our roots. And we shouldn't be doing this. If we want to build a united team, if we want to build a team that's together, that's in sync with the fan base, in sync with the city, in sync with the values, etc., we don't boo a player off the pitch because he's misplaced a pass or he's overdone it. At least he tried to do something, tried to impact the game. And when defensively, I thought Lyndon Gooch was one of the best players of the game yesterday on that left hand side with Carl Winchester. Sorry, on the right hand side. I thought his defensive display was one of the best, and in that sloppy 20 minutes we had at the end of the end of the first half, he was one of the players that was winning every battle, defending the wings, and meaning that they can't get past. And I think that's something that went under the radar. To me, Lyndon Gooch was one of the best players in that first half.
Yep. No, he's an interesting one, and so I think we've covered that. And I think I appreciate both you guys' input there, because I think both are very unique perspectives. But I think you're right. At the end of the day, we have to build a winning culture and a supporters culture, and yeah. But thankfully,
sorry, Kyle.
You're good.
Before you carry on, one last thing I will mention. I didn't. If it was, say, during the championship season, and I'm specifically thinking of players like Jack Rodwell or Didier Ndong towards the end. When you're watching players that you can clearly tell do not give a crap about the state of the club and the way it's going, boo them. And that when you tell they don't care, who have every right to boo them, in my opinion. Whether they go off, whether they come on, well, okay, maybe not when they come on, but when they go off, certainly, if you can tell they've given a half-hearted performance, then I think they deserve every bit of booing that they get. Lamine Corney, there's another example. Someone who basically tried for 6 months and stopped bothering after that. So, but with Lyndon Gooch again, like I said, he's someone who's, like you guys have said, Daniel knows better than me firsthand what he's like, but been there for ages, and he's an adopted Mackem pretty much at this point, isn't he? So he can tell that he cares. So again, if don't boo people when they're going off, when they've given everything. Come on.
Right, and this has been another episode of the Gooches podcast. And no, I'm kidding. Listen, I could dedicate a whole.
Kyle's
podcast.
buzzing because he's heard an anti-Gooch. He's not heard someone who's not Gooch's biggest fan defend him.
But we'll move on, and we'll touch on anything else in the end. But we still have about another 15 minutes of the game to discuss. Last subs to kind of come on were Patrick Roberts came on and Daniel. I think Daniel was the one. I think he came on late. I might have that reversed, but
he came on about the 80th minute,
82nd, 83rd
something
minute,
like that.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I was a few minutes out there. Never mind, just scratch that.
Yeah, it was close enough. But we were battling hard, and you could tell we definitely took over the game again. The crowd was starting to get behind it, which I really liked too. The crowd was starting to spur him on a little bit. We started to get a little bit better action in the box. We had one that kind of bounced around just like a chip in the box and landed to Ross Stewart, who possessed the ball really well in the box and then just hit it right off the post. And then their keeper made another incredible save. And right there, I was just like, it's just not going to happen, which is funny because I said the exact same thing the previous 2 games. This is not going to happen. This is not our game today. And then the 92nd minute, it was Clark who had the ball on kind of the outside and just lofted the ball in from a deeper position, which, like I've said, I mentioned in the previous pods, we need to start doing earlier balls into the box, because when we try to dribble the ball basically into the goal, they have 11 men behind the ball. It's going to be impossible to get it in. He plays more of an early ball, and it just kind of I see Broadhead rise up for it, and it just kind of glanced off the side of his head, his shoulder. The keeper made a mess of it, but it went in the back of the net. And you could see, the crowd just erupted. He wheeled off to the right, and we've done it again. So, Michael, where were you in the stands? What was your perspective of that last minute?
Well, I'm in the southwest corner, so I was completely the opposite side of the stadium when it happened. Actually, this is a funny one, right? Because I wish I'd gone mental, but I didn't. I kind of stood there. I was really, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I wasn't.
Right.
I was. But I was. If you watched Alex Neil's interview, one of the things he said was that he didn't go mental at the last goal because he was too annoyed at the 20 minutes at the start of the second half, or that spell where we basically nearly chucked away
right.
2 points. And I was exactly the same. As you guys know, I'm someone who always values keeping clean sheets and being hard to beat. And I'm not under any illusions that we're going to keep clean sheets every game, because that's not realistic. We are going to concede goals. But the 2 goals that we can, even if you take out the first one, because it shouldn't have stood, arguably, the second one for me, it was such bad defending that I was furious at it. And I just kind of stood there and thought, this shouldn't be the winner. We shouldn't be having to score a 3rd goal to get a win here. But I'll stop being a grumpy bastard. But at the end of the day, the place just erupted. And it was just sheer emotion and sheer relief. And, especially when we found out at this point, Wycombe were 2-0 up against Plymouth, so they'd won the game. And obviously, we're recording this ahead of Sheffield Wednesday's game at MK Dons, so hopefully MK Dons do us a favour there, but we'll wait and find out. Ahead of that, it was vital. Just to win that game was just incredibly huge. I know I said to Kyle before we came on air that even if the ball just bounced off Broadhead's head, that's a mouthful to say, into the back of the net, what the Shrewsbury keeper's doing there, I don't know. I'm not a goalkeeper, so if either of you have any better insight than what I have, then please feel free to share it. But for me, if the goalkeeper comes out and claims that goal doesn't happen for me, but I'm glad he didn't, and I'm glad we ended up winning the game. So it was, to be cringy, it was a good Friday.
That it was, yeah, especially, yeah. And Daniel, just for you, I'm sure the whole emotions of that game, right? Because you were pitch side, you kind of had the whole, I don't know if ceremony is the right word, but you know what I mean. And then to have a finish like that, and you were you sitting with your whole family, throughout the whole?
Yeah, I was by the tunnel with my family, and yeah, it shouldn't have got to the point where we need another 92nd minute winner. We shouldn't have let a 2-goal slip lead, but I think we'll learn from this. I think, maybe it's good that we let a 2-goal lead slip and still win, because that'll be a vital learning curve going into the tough games against Plymouth and Rotherham. It's all about the mentality. They'll look at this game and think, "Fuck, we let a 2-goal slip lead."
Right.
That could cost us playoffs. Those 2 goals, that 20 minutes of madness could have cost us the playoffs. But we grinded out like we have in the last 3 weeks to win, and it's just another layer on the mentality that this club is aiming to achieve and installing everyone. And yeah, it was really nice as well because it was just such a relief, like Michael said, that the stadium just erupted. You felt that the tension and the frustration had just lifted from everyone, knowing that we'd not dropped 2 points. Especially with Ross Stewart hitting the bar from about 6 yards out moments before, from almost the exact same situation.
Yep.
But yeah, it was really nice because my granddad didn't really want to come to the game before he knew about all this stuff, and by the end of it, he had the biggest smile I think I've ever seen on his face. So it was really really nice to see, and
That's awesome.
I'm so glad that we got the 3 points because, like I said against Gillingham, this Shrewsbury game could potentially be the biggest 3 points of the season.
Stop us if you've heard that before, because I
Yeah,
think we've said that.
every single game is the biggest 3 points of the season, whether that's against relegated Crew or whether that's against first place Wigan. Every point means the absolute world now, and we've just got to keep going. We've got 2 games that are going to be very very tough. But if we get the points, then I can't see us not progressing far in the playoffs because we'll have had that mentality installed into us.
Right.
The thing as
Go into
well.
war.
So
Yep.
yeah, the thing, I like that comment about going into war. Actually, that's quite applicable. But I think the thing to remember is that because we won yesterday, every game that you win lessens the pressure on the next game to get points to finish in the top 6. So I mean, for example, we've got 4 games left? Is that
Yep.
right?
Yeah. So that's what we'll move to now. So 4 games left. We'll kind of set the stage, and I'll let you talk on it. So 4 games. We have Plymouth on Monday, followed by next Saturday we have Cambridge, and then a Tuesday game against Rotherham, and then end the season with Morecambe. So 4 games left as the standings, because the Rotherham game is now finished. Rotherham has moved back into second, so Wigan's obviously top with 87 points. Rotherham second with 83. MK Dons slipped to third. I think it's just by goal difference, really, because Rotherham is plus 36, MK is 29. Fourth is Plymouth. Fifth is Wickham. We are sitting sixth, tied with Wickham with 76 points, and then Sheffield, who plays this afternoon against MK Dons, or this evening, I guess. They are sitting at seventh. Oxford is just about out of it. They've played 2 more games than most of us, or 1 more game than most of us. But
Just to
as it
bear in mind with
stands,
Oxford, sorry, Carl, just to bear in mind
you're
with
good.
Oxford, I think they've got MK Dons, I think, on Monday, and then
Yeah.
I think Rotherham, they've got Rotherham away next
Right.
weekend. So that you would imagine. I mean, I know Rotherham's been on bad form recently, but with them winning, you don't know if they build a run from this. I
Yeah.
can't see Oxford getting the results in those 2 games. So I would say,
And I think Plymouth
out of
too.
it.
Plymouth too has a pretty rough end to it as
Yeah, they
well.
do actually. Yeah.
But yeah, so as we go into, obviously we're rooting for MK Dons this today. Yeah, we would
Later
love
on, just say later on.
later. Yeah, whenever it is. It's 8 o'clock in the morning here. Um, so later on. But yeah, the 4 games left. Michael, what do you see from this, and really what's kind of your gut feeling at this point?
My gut feeling is I think we'll get 2 wins out of these last 4, and maybe a draw and a defeat, or 2 draws. So I think we'll get 7 or 8 points out of the last 4 games in the run-in. I know some people, I said this to you off air as well, that some people going, well, if we win all our games, we could get second. And like, no, let's just write that off. That's as much as I would love it, we are not getting second. So at this point, I'd say 7 or 8 points. And think people have got to remember as well that next weekend when we play Cambridge, Wickham and Sheffield Wednesday play against each other at Wickham. So again, like I keep trying to reiterate, to the point where everyone's probably bored of it. If one team at least is going to drop points there, and if they both draw, both teams can't win. So we've just got to make sure we do our business and take advantage. We still have that game in hand on Wickham, which is against Rotherham, but still it's at home. I'd be disappointed to certainly lose the game. So we've got the chance to do it. We've got to just keep getting the points ticking over. We've just got to keep getting results because I honestly think about if you get to 82, 83 points, I don't see how that's not enough personally. Remember, we've got to remember other teams are League One size the same way we are. And even if Wycombe and Sheff Wed win the majority of their games, Plymouth's game, after they play us, their last two games are away at Wigan, who will still be going for the title at that point, and at home to MK Dons. They could still be going for automatic promotion. So you never know. It's not done yet, but my gut feeling says we'll finish in the top six, and I've called it and I've claimed it. I think we'll finish in the top six. If we finish in the top six, I think we'll win the playoffs.
Right, and I think somebody posted on Twitter. It was just kind of the previous, I think, last two seasons of the League One standings, and it's just mad this season how you're looking at teams with 83 points or teams that could finish with 90 points and not get promoted. It's insane. It really
well,
is.
Another one is that last season we finished on, I think, 77 or 78 points, and we comfortably finished in the top six.
Right.
And at the minute, we're 2 points off that, and we're in a scrap to be in it.
Yeah, just get me out of this league. And so, Daniel, we play Plymouth on Monday. Plymouth just coming off of the loss to Wycombe. I believe it's at Plymouth, and that's quite the drive. Whatever the trek is for you guys. Are either of you going to that? First off,
sadly not.
No.
Yeah, I don't blame.
I wish I was.
Yeah, I heard it's a pretty cool. Yeah, Plymouth. I feel like they're an ancient team, right? I mean, they feel like they've been around forever, but that'll be an interesting one. I feel like in the past too, if I remember our first season in League One, there's some red cards, nasty fouls, players getting after it, and we are just at that point in the season where tensions are high. So, Daniel, what do you want to see Monday, against Plymouth? Ideally, what would be kind of your setups, any changes that you would make, or how do you think we're going to steer ourselves through that one?
Just to put into perspective, it's 332 miles one way, so it's a 12-hour round trip, 700-mile round trip, to Plymouth. So it is a big journey to go. Personally, I wouldn't want to change too much from, I guess, the start of how we set up against Shrewsbury. Wycombe beat Plymouth by being aggressive and by beating Plymouth up, essentially. Plymouth couldn't deal with the, I guess, the physicality that Wigan possess. So I think we're not the most physical team either. So it's going to be quite a technical game, I think. So that's why I would sort of start the same as how we set up against Shrewsbury, because we need that technical ability to break down the Wycombe defence. Plymouth defence. Maybe I would drop one of 09 or Embleton just to bring in Dan Neal potentially, because he can have big impacts on games and he's a very, very technical player but can do it attacking and defensively, whereas Embleton can maybe only do it attacking. And 09, I guess he can do it both ways, but he's not the most technical. So it's that's the only change I'd really make. Maybe start Roberts as well over Gooch, and swap Clark and Roberts the wings. Put left footer on the left wing and right footer on the right wing. Maybe that would help, because we saw again yesterday that Clark doesn't have a left foot and he's not confident enough to use it as well. So I wouldn't make too many changes because we need consistency, and we need to get a team to play consistently, especially going into the playoffs as well. This is where we need to go in for wall. Every point means every point dropped is one less chance of the playoffs, and we can't afford that because that will just hinder our progress going into the playoffs. We need to be going in there on the best run of form possible, and I'd say we still need three wins out of 4 to keep going at the level. To keep going at the level we want, because looking at the table, I genuinely don't know who I'd want to face in the playoffs. Every team is like they can, on our day we can beat them, on when we're not on a day they can beat us. Like Sheffield Wednesday, for example. So I think we just need to be as confident as possible and not care about who we're facing. Just get the wins, because that'll be what's important come the playoffs. That run of form, that mentality, that winning mentality, knowing that you've dug deep for 46 games, you're 3 games away from the championship, is everything that we need to be thinking right now. But one of Alex Neil's favourite thing is take a game as it comes. Don't worry about post game. That's for the fans to worry about, not the players. So I just whatever happens, hope we go in with that physicality, with that aggression, with that war mentality, and really just do the region proud.
Yep. Yeah, well said. Yeah, I think Mondays finally win the table. Depending on Monday's results, finally the table, I think, would start to take a little bit of a clearer picture, and I guess after today as well. But nonetheless, Michael, Daniel, I appreciate you guys hopping on this. I think this was a really good pod. I think some really good insight, Daniel. Like I said, your experience, I think, was one of a kind for sure. So I wanted to get you on there. But Michael, any last thoughts for our listeners today before, or Daniel as well? Any last thoughts before we send them on their way to enjoy a nice Easter weekend?
Well, for once, it's nice to have a Saturday when we're not worrying about being, well, not yet anyway, being worried about being let down.
True.
I can't top Daniel's motivational speech at the end. That was quite, that's something I think the players need to probably listen to. But if I had to say summing up, I sense the momentum is still building, that you can't get this many late winners and not be building momentum. There's 4 huge games left. It is in our hands. Even if Sheffield Wednesday beat MK Dons, people, please remember it is still in our hands. Even if we drop out of the top 6 tonight, it's only on the virtue of goal difference. Wycombe and Sheffield play each other. We've got 2 home games left where we are good at home. Plymouth is going to be a tricky one, but we're capable of it. We're absolutely capable. There's no reason why we can't do it.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. And and the mental thing is we played 43 games, and I don't think we're anywhere near a finished article. So regardless what happens, I think this summer is so exciting for the club, because what we're doing now with the players that we've got is so good, but we can tell we're so far off as well. We're nowhere near where Alex Neil wants us to be. So it's only going to get better. So whatever happens, stay with the team, stick with the boys. That playoff, that championship season next year is coming. I believe it. I sense it. I feel it. It's coming.
Love it. It kind of does, and obviously there's a few games left still to write, but it does feel like we're living through kind of some interesting Sunderland history. You know, looking back and looking at how we've won these games. I'll leave it at that because I'm not a superstitious guy really, but it's been crazy. I've never seen anything like these last couple of games. So with that, lads, thanks for joining. This has been great. Another great episode of Mackem in the Middle. Like, review, subscribe, all that stuff, and I guess we'll recap again after the Plymouth game. So until then, we will see you later.
That's all, folks.